And this is the norm that you see throughout society. But this is a universal statement for us to understand. It doesn't mean if somebody is a scholar that his son or his daughter automatically they will benefit from his scholarship. Knowledge is something that has to be pursued, has to be cultivated. It is not an automatic entrance into this elite club. And that's a message to me and to you. That Abraham was told, and through him was a teaching, a guidelines for humanity, that you are an imam of people, but your progeny is not guaranteed that elevated status, because this is not something that is achieved by hereditary links. But here's the beauty now. Here's the next verse. وَإِذْ جَعَلْنَا الْبَيْتَ مَثَابَةً لِلنَّاسِ وَأَمْنًا. وَاتَّخِذُوا مِنْ مَقَامِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مُصَلًّى وَعَهِدْنَا إِلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْمَاعِيلَ أَنْ طَهِّرَا بَيْتِي لِلطَّائِفِينَ وَالْعَاكِفِينَ وَالرُّكَعِ السُّجُودِ. In these two verses, I must confess, they are towering concepts that we cannot, in 2 or 3 khutbahs, exhaust. Because if I were to ask the average Muslim who reads the regular translation, who is not a student of the Qur'an, and who is not a student of the Arabic language, and who is not studying the Qur'an with an open mind, you're going to give me the regular translation. And here's the regular translation. وَإِذْ جَعَلْنَا الْبَيْتَ مَثَابَةً لِلنَّاسِ. And we look and recall when we made the house, we appointed the house. مَثَابَةً لِلنَّاسِ, a place of return of people. In my study of language, and I will share this with you for consideration, English as well as Arabic. I don't know much of Urdu, I understand a little more than I speak. You can see things in 2 ways, if you wish, and it will make the world of difference for you or for me. Take the case of the word house in Arabic. I know the word dar is used, but I'm giving you the simple one, bayt. And the common translators of the Qur'an have translated the word bayt as the word house. So what do you get? You understand what's a house. You see a physical structure. So that's what comes to the mind. But if a house represents a physical structure, then you will only see and think of a physical structure. But if you understand that in the language itself, we say al-ma'na al-haqiqi, al-ma'na al-haqiqi, this is a literal meaning, and we say al-ma'na al-majazi, a figurative meaning. And they produce the world of difference. If you understand bayt, house, to mean a structure, then whenever you read in the Qur'an bayt, that's what will come to your mind. And nothing more. And you will be obsessed with this house, but you will get nothing from it. You will go around it, you will kiss it. How many times in your life you get a chance you will do it? And that's all you will have, an emotional tale to tell. Ask the average Muslim. It's an emotional tale you have. But if you understand house as an institution, let me emphasize that word. If you understand house as an institution, then then the word house is symbolic. It relates to values. It relates to principles. It relates to ideas. It has knowledge. There's an ideology behind it. And if you will recall a few khutbahs before, I quoted a verse of the Qur'an for our benefit, found in chapter 29, Surah Ankabut, verse 67, when Allah says, أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا, have they not observed, أَنَّا جَعَلْنَا حَرَمًا آمِنًا وَيُتَخَطَّفُ النَّاسُ مِنْ حَوْلِهِ. Have they not observed that we have earmarked an environment that is called haram? Haram is not a physical structure, because if that's what the haram is to you, it will be limited to its material context. But if you understand the word in Arabic, haram means that which you should not violate, that which you should not transgress, that which you should not ignore. But then the adjective qualifying it, amina, tells a big story. It's an environment where nothing should be violated that should not be violated. Nothing should be transgressed which should not be transgressed. And this is essentially human rights. This is essentially human rights. But then the Qur'an used the expression, what's happening outside this haram? وَيُتَخَطَّفُ النَّاسُ مِنْ حَوْلِهِمْ. But outside this environment of a safe haven, people's rights are being snatched from them, robbed from them, taken away from them. So I'm just giving you something to start thinking about. All these years in your life, you were accustomed to translate and read the word house to mean a structure. The word bayt comes from the Arabic verb bata. Any student of the Arabic language will know that. And you ask for the literal translation in the Arabic, bata yabitu baytan. Bata means to pass the night. That's the literal mundane translation. And the verse continues by telling us we should recall when the house, or the concept of the house and the institution, was made a mathabatan linnas. Mathaba comes from the verb thaba. Thaba yathubu. And while yes, there is an aspect of going back and back and back to this place, keep going and going to that place, the real essence of mathaba comes from the verb thaba, which means reverting something. Reverting something to its original status. Reverting something to its original status for which it stood out for. A concrete house or a wooden house or a house of sand doesn't stand out for anything. Because this house that you see exists in Mecca, just in case you don't know, it's not the same structure that existed in the time of the Prophet. You must know this. And especially if you are into Muslim history, you're into Sunni history and Shiite history, you'll know how many times they destroyed it. These holy people. How many times they fought and destroyed it. And they took away what they call the holy black stone. So this structure is not in any way